my experience dating a female covert narcissist. But before I get into today's video, I'd like to tell people to subscribe so I can get my subscriber watch time up. That would be very helpful for me. And I seem to be picking up more steam now than I ever have. So thank you very much to everyone who's been watching, commenting, etc. And especially thank you to the people who've been watching from the beginning, and you know who you are. But anyway, on to today's video. I came up with today's video because I was kind of thinking about 2019 in review. And a guy named Sam Harris, he has a podcast where sometimes he asks the guests at the end, what's an experience that you wouldn't want repeated, but was good for you? And the story I'm about to tell you is an experience I would not want repeated, but it was absolutely good for me. And I'll get into the reasons why that was. But I met a woman from Brazil playing poker. And only by chance I gave her the information of my Instagram and my YouTube before I left. And she had reached out to me, and the next day she had said, I'm going back to play poker again. I'm like, oh, that's great. I'll come meet you there. And we kind of just hit it off from there. The first day we hung out, she took pictures of me for my podcast cover art, and she was love bombing me. I know that now, like saying how attractive she thought I was, like wow, exciting, like this, like blowing my head up a little bit. And like I quickly started to like really like her. And then she had told me like we did a lot of things together, went out to eat. I helped her get her license in Maryland, and she said to me on the way back from Maryland, like, I went to Maryland to get to my license, and I come back in love with a Jared. I thought that was one of the cutest things ever. But notice, as my feelings for her grew, her feelings for me began to decrease. And it wasn't so evident at first, but here's a couple of the things. Like, that love bombing thing, mirroring your likes and dislikes, that was sneaky. And as a guy, you're not used to women doing that to you. It's a little more rare. Now, women, you get this much more often because guys who are clueless just try to blow you up, tell you how beautiful you are, how gorgeous you are. So you're a little more on defense with that kind of thing. It's not going to work as well. But from a guy, like, yeah, women don't do that too often. It happens, but not too often. So that was a red flag number one. And we didn't really get too many red flags at all until she decided that she was going to tell me she was going to go fly across the country to California to hang out with a friend of her baby's dad. And I got a little jealous about this. It was like the first kick up in our relationship, and I was like, that doesn't sound quite right. What the hell's going on with this? And like she went anyway, and she claims she never slept with him, but as you're about to find out, who knows anymore. And like, that was the beginning of things going poorly for us. She told me later on that I can't have someone being controlling me and smothering me, etc. And I went to get a tattoo in New York, and that was one of the second to last time I've seen her, where she gave me that conversation. And I tried to have like a genuine conversation with her about what had gone on, and I felt better about it at the end because I cleared the air on my side, but I didn't realize it yet. But she did not clear the air on her side, as you'll find out soon. So, at that point, after I dropped her off, I left the apartment, and she lingered at the top of the stairs there for a while, and I didn't understand why. But I know now it's because she knew she was not going to see me again for a while. And, like, the devaluing stage in this went pretty fast. It went quickly to discard. And, like, she just ghosted me for about a week. And this is pretty rare, like when a woman says they love you and you're in love, you don't think that kind of thing's going to happen. But it did. And so at that point, what had happened was we just kind of, she had also began to tell me lies also. Like, she said there was a guy that she knew that she was friends with that would call her from jail. She felt bad for him that he was in jail. And then the story changed to it was her ex-boyfriend that was in jail that would call her. And then the story changed again to it's my boyfriend in jail. So there was 3 levels of lies that she told about her boyfriend in jail. And like I was pretty disappointed about that too. And it took about a month for that level of lies to really go from the original one to finally the truth later. And what happened was her boyfriend was going to come out in a few months, and she was going to make the choice to be with him, basically. And it wasn't until later on, because even after the discard there, she still made sure she liked all of my Instagram posts. She wanted to keep me hooked so that if she ever felt the need to hoover, I'd come right there. And I'll tell you what, I was so into her that she could have done any number of abusive things to me, and I was all for it. I still loved her. I still wanted her. I didn't care what she did to me, if only she'd be there for me. And I remember I was supposed to go to a movie premiere, and I invited her to come along with me. And this is a few weeks after that discard. And she told me some story that she was going to sell her laptop to a guy, and he tried to pay her in fake money, and she had to chase after him and beat him up to get her laptop back. And I noticed then it was just like a story. It was just like a story. And narcissists, they always tell stories. They're always either the hero or the victim of the stories they tell. And right around the same time, she told me another story, about the guy she went to see in California. She mentioned that some guy smashed a hole in the dude's car window, and so they spent half of the night looking for the guy that smashed a hole in his window. More than likely, just another story. You gotta watch out for these stories. So far, we have stories, and we have lies that are being told that were pretty devastating. And what else happened? And then those two stories. And then she blocked me from her Instagram story. And she told me it was because she blocks all Americans, which was also a lie. And we'll find out why in a minute. So I'd only seen her one more time after that tattoo day. And we came full circle. I met her at the casino that we met at. And, I had some drinks, she had some drinks. And I said to her, it's like, something's up. Like, I don't know if you're dating other people or what's going on here besides this boyfriend in jail, but, like, what's going on with you? And she told me. And she said, I have a bunch of sugar daddies, and I have been sleeping with them all. And I'm like, wow. And even at first, that still wasn't enough to deter me right away. It kind of sunk in later what that truly meant. But it was like, wow. So she just lied about everything. She loved all the admiration these older men would give her, and not to mention money. Because she had about 3 or 4 of them on rotation, or whatever a bunch means. And, like, I don't know, it really hurts to go from someone that you were head over heels for, and then realizing slowly, and just watching it unravel from lies, from abuse, from, like, yeah, because she laughed at me when I asked her why she had blocked me from her Instagram story. She laughed about it. They call that Dupers Delight. And then she had showed me pictures of the dude in California and about how they had chased the guy that was smashed a hole in the window. And we came to a picture where the guy had her arm around her, and she got all embarrassed when I saw it and, like, hid it. And it's like, of course, I know what that means. Like, you wouldn't be embarrassed if there was nothing to hide. Duh. And, like, yeah, this was a really attractive woman, so she was just eating up all of this narcissistic supply from countless dudes. Old dudes, young dudes, guys in jail. She's actually married to the guy in jail now. But, yeah, it was a hurtful experience that really opened up my eyes. It always reminds me of Billy Joel's Always a Woman. If you listen to the lyrics of that song, it reminded me a lot of that experience because she really brought out the best in me in some ways, encouraged me to sing and chase some of my dreams and talents. But at the same time, she'd bring out another terrible side in me too, a fearful and anxiety-ridden side, and that part was not so good at all. But my overall takeaway from the whole experience was I gotta learn how to radically respect myself. And that was the birth of my book, Radical Self-Respect. I learned that if I would have radically respected myself, I would have seen these red flags coming. I would not have ignored the small little lies that she told. And she did ruin my faith with her casual lies, as Billy Joel would say. And I know now something like that could never happen to me again. Because It also ruined my idealization of what relationships could be. It's like, no, more than likely, there's going to be practical relationships at work. None of this fairy tale nonsense, none of this Disney or rom-com nonsense. Like, no. There's going to be practical. And I think the world would be a much better place if they started thinking more practically. Like, hey, we want to become a partnership. It's like you're a business and you want to merge with another business to become a better partnership, to become a better team together. That's really what a relationship is. And this fairy tale nonsense gets in the way, and I think it puts rose-colored glasses on people so that they expect too much. And it's not very good. And so, yeah, going from being head over heels in love to realizing the woman's lying, cheating, and just basically the worst of all of your fears, it was a pretty harrowing experience. And for a while there, it took me a while to get over her. And I had to block her on everything. I had to not talk to her at all because I relapsed on talking to her a few times after I shouldn't have anymore. And they say after narcissistic abuse, it's normal to do that. But like, I couldn't get over her until I went no contact, including on Instagram too, because she would like some of my stuff on Instagram and it would actually keep it going for me on my side. Like, I was enjoying the fact she was still giving me approval, likes, and I had to put an end to it. And it wasn't until I cut off all the contact was I finally able to begin the process of healing. And I put off this video because there was other times I wanted to make it, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't over her enough. But now I feel like I am, and we haven't talked for multiple months now, several months at least, 3 or 4 I think, and I think I could actually see her if I were to encounter her in the street, and I wouldn't have an emotional reaction. That's usually how you know you're truly over something. When you think about it, or you see a person, and you don't have an emotional reaction anymore to it, that's a good sign you're over it. So, yeah, it's really the whole situation. I would not want to repeat that situation, but it helped me grow. It made me tougher. It made me realize I always have to remain emotionally independent. I can't confuse emotional dependency for love and like lose myself in another person like that again. Because I did. I had lost myself in her. I had to like reestablish who I was after that whole thing was over. And very painful process. I'd never had a breakup more painful than this one. And it wasn't even because of how long it was. This 4 month relationship was way more painful than my 2 multiple year relationships were. It was way more intense and then way more painful. Just like a drug. Removing a drug from your system. It was just like that. So, female covert narcissists, they'll talk you in circles. They'll gaslight. They never really reveal everything to you. They only reveal what they want you to see. And they're sneaky, liars, and they're cheaters. The only way to really deal with them is no contact, because even just me reaching out to her a little bit when I would relapse on her months ago, the crazy would come right back, and it'd be nuts. And just reaching out to her would cause me to go crazy, because I'd reach out, she'd respond, and then she'd stop responding for a while to punish me for not talking to her for a while. And the thing I had to remember was, they always want to hear from you again. They want your supply. And if you let them be, they'll be there forever. Right? They'll always be there. And the romantic people might out there say, like, see, that means you must be meant to be. You're soulmates. You're this. It's like, no. They're just abusers. And supply is interchangeable to them. You have to remember that. It's not anything special about you. And it's like, for any kind of narcissist, it's very telling that they get supply from any kind of attention. They like any kind of the opposite sex or whatever sex they're into. They love all of that attention. And that's not good. It's a bad sign. You want to have someone that gets brightened up by one person. Not people of the sex that they're attracted to. Not by anyone. Right? So that was my experience with the covert narcissist. Very painful. Very eye-opening. But it helped me to grow. It helped me to become a better version of myself. It helped me to look to my own life for more of my happiness, to work on my hobbies, to work on my career, to just build my own life so that I have a life worthy of sharing with someone else. And it was a very painful process, but eventually, as long as you go no contact, you can get over it. And I eventually, I got obsessed with watching the narcissistic abuse videos, like I know a lot of people do, and they really helped for a while. But then I also think there's a point where you gotta just kind of stop watching them, because it'll make you think about that person unnecessarily. Like, once you've gotten to a point of healing, it's like, you gotta keep on moving forward. Keep on going. Don't stay stuck. Don't stay stuck in the pain. Keep on going. So that was my experience. I'd love to hear your take on my experience with a covert narc. Feel free to drop some of your experiences below as well on what your experience is with malignant narcs or covert narcs, etc. I'd love to hear. So with that, thanks for watching, and have a good one.